contain scenes of extreme violence.
The martial arts were born 1,500 years ago from the teachings of a single warrior monk. At that time, success in combat was less important than inner strength. The mastery of fighting skill required a lifetime of discipline and meditation. In the modern world, the martial arts have changed beyond recognition.
I have to update it in order for it to be pure.
You take a guy 135 Muay Thai, kick so hard you can break bones.
Martial art without philosophy is merely street fight.
In 6th century China, the first martial art, wushu, was developed at the Shaolin Temple by Buddhist monk Bodhidharma. In the modern world, wushu is better known as kung fu, which spawned the TV series that made actor David Carradine famous.
When the martial arts and when Buddhism spread down to the peninsula, to Korea and off to the islands, it was affected by the peculiarities of the cultures that it was introduced into.
Wushu eventually mutated into the vast range of martial arts now practiced all over the world. The Japanese art of kendo is based on sword fighting, while the Korean style of taekwondo places far less emphasis on weapons.
In Korea, as if it's Japan or any other country, you're limited to that one style of art. In the United States, there's so many different forms of martial art. So it opens up the possibility for a Taekwondo practitioner to see and learn and understand many different arts as well.
In 1987, I came to United States. That time is not a lot of people know Tai Chi or internal martial arts very much, but now it's getting more popular. But the internal martial arts is different with the external martial arts because it's really to build up your energy, and also it's between your body and your mind and your spirit. I think here Western people is more sensitive for the Qi feeling. So teach here is more easier than teach in China.
America's contribution is that we've been the place for all these fabulous Eastern martial artists to bring their culture, to bring their martial arts ways, to bring their Eastern philosophy and their wisdom. And I believe that we wouldn't have anywhere near the martial arts system that we have today if we didn't have that melting pot influence from all these different countries.
The original martial arts were based on the ideals of ancient Eastern culture. Spiritual growth, as much as success in combat. Mental discipline, as much as physical strength. In the modern world, the challenge for enthusiasts and experts alike is to maintain these traditions. As the martial arts become popular sports, the original emphasis on character is in danger of being lost.
Some people might look at what I'm doing. I'm taking this ancient 34-generation-old family art and updating it for the 21st century. And they might say, well, aren't you spoiling it? What was the point of this? Why was it invented in the first place?
Technique. If I'm being pushed away, I catch the hands here. I've got to be able to move with just the right timing and pieces here. Locking that leg up. Uh-oh, he's going down. Maybe he's going to grab my ankle. I need to make him come back up.
What's it going to take today to live up to the original vision of that original founder back in the 1100s? Ironically, I think to be teaching this martial art in its full, authentic way, I have to update it in order for it to be pure?
Nobody can stop martial art change because human in learning martial art in the beginning, they want to fight. So fight is that small. But later on, 1,000 years later, human learning martial arts is not just a fight. They're training. So they start movement, the bigger one. So the circulation is better than before because the goal changed.
The original goal of the martial arts was simple. One blow to kill. But in the late 1950s, a new sport was developed in which contestants were given points for technique alone. Potentially lethal blows were disallowed.
They took away the weapons from the warrior. You cannot sweep, you cannot kick to the 2-2, you cannot this, you cannot that, you can't do rich hands, you can't. So the only thing you're doing is back knuckles, reverse punches. Back knuckles, reverse punches.
We have so much problem with insurance and injuries, so people start to get into more weaker. So pretty soon we call it touching game, which was the fast touch. Then we lost one blow to kill.
In today's so-called tag contests, competitors are heavily padded. Even children can play.
I think the competitors are as good as they ever were. It's just that with the padding, the techniques, they might not look as sharp because everyone seems to be over padded.
In tag contests, sometimes it's deceiving because you think you can really do full contact from the tag contest, and it's a different game.
The thrill of unarmed combat with no real danger has turned the martial arts into popular sports. But the real experts believe that only a return to tradition can produce truly spectacular fighters.
And his corner did not appreciate it.
In the early 1970s, the evolution of martial arts in the United States had entered a new stage with the rise of full-contact karate.
Oh, that one did land.
One of its greatest exponents was Bill Superfoot Wallace.
Speed is maybe third or fourth. Timing and distancing are the most important things. You know, there's a lot of guys that were fast. A lot of guys that are just as fast as I am. But one thing that I think I did have when I was fighting, I have a really good superb distance and timing.
Oh, that did not land on his face. It was a good-looking kick. You see the crowd loves those kicks. Work.
You know, I really enjoy kicking people in the head. It makes me feel really good. And the more I kick them, the better I feel.
Yeah, about, and it didn't hurt. So round 5.
You know, in my whole career, I had 5 weapons. The side kick, the roundhouse kick, and the hook kick, the jab, and the left hook. That's all. Because my right leg was bad, and I'd have to face left side forward to protect the knee. The side, the round hook kick look exactly the same, till I straighten it out. So you got, that far to react to decide what kick I'm throwing. Up until now, thank God, you've decided to block the wrong technique. Besides, I kind of help you by making you react to movements also. The jab and the hook, because I'm sideways, I don't give you a target to counter.
Now continue.
The next champion to bring karate to the boxing ring was Don Wilson.
For a martial artist to become a professional athlete or a kickboxer, you know, it takes mainly, I'd say 70–80% of it is just dedication.
Don tended to go anywhere in the world, fight on anybody's rules, even though he knew the judges were against him and he didn't have a chance unless he really hurt the guy. Spot him 10 and 15 and 20 pounds. He'd climb in the ring with a fever. He'd climb in the ring with 2 broken hands. Nothing ever stopped him.
If I was fighting myself, it would be a difficult fight to train for because the ambidextrous, the side stance is awkward. Most guys don't fight in the side stance.
I think one of the big questions...
You know, I've got a lot of ring experience. And I'll be honest, most of my fights, a lot of the good fighters I fought, I was just, everything went my way on that given night. You know, Maurice Smith, James Waring, Alexio, Terrio, a lot of the guys I fought on, things could go the other way. But they didn't.
Nice combination.
But the honor of taking this new form of karate to Japan itself fell to a man they called Benny the Jet.
personally feel Benny Urquidez is the greatest full-contact kickboxing champion of all times. But Benny fought every kickboxer, every style. You tell him where you wanted him to be, he was there, and he was always prepared.
They fought with me because I wanted to wear long pants, and they wanted me to put on traditional tie shorts, and I wouldn't do it. And I said, then finally I said, I'm going home. If I can't wear my long pants, I'm going home. So they just said, it doesn't matter. Suzuki's going to knock me out anyway, so it didn't matter to them. They said, fine. So I know they told Suzuki to try to finish me off fast. I was having fun. So I took up my axe. In the 5th round, I started chopping.
Good high round kick followed by...
In 1977, Urquidez beat Japanese champion Katsuyuki Suzuki in front of 22,000 people.
He's down again, second time.
In the United States, definitely, we'd stop the fight here. His corner is saying, get back in there, and I think he's saying, you get back in there.
He looks like he's had it. Should stop it.
The Japanese fans could hardly believe their eyes. At the finish, Urquidez was immediately challenged by former champion Kunimatsu Okawa.
The winner.
Indeed.
No sooner than I finished him, knocked him out, Okawa jumped in the ring. I don't know what he was saying, but he was pointing this and that. And so the interpreter asked me, what do you think about fighting Okawa? And I said, what's the difference? And he said, well, do you know who Okawa is? And I said, was I supposed to? I have no idea who he is or what he is. All I know is he challenged me. I accept. So when I got in there, he looked much bigger than me. His eyes, his calves. I said, are you sure this guy is at 140?
Like many of the other fighters in Japan, they're tremendous right hand.
That doesn't happen often. Look at Benny. He's right back up. Small.
As I dropped, I looked up at him. He had a little smirk on his face. And I looked down at my brother. My brother goes, I jumped up. I said, now we're going to fight. Yeah. And this guy threw me across the ring. Every blow he hit, I could feel it. He is very strong. So my brother said, so what are you going to do? And I said, I'm going to have fun. The round came. My brother said, take off the axe, start chopping. Then when I came back, I told my brother, his chin is weak. He said, then zero in on him.
Urquidez is given notice to the world that he'll fight anywhere in the world. That's the only way you're ever going to establish real world champions in professional karate. He's the first one.
Urquidez had often boasted that he would fight anyone under any rules.
This is that crowd going crazy. Look at Benny.
He got his wish, and it made him a hero in Japan. They even created a comic book in his honor.
Look at those combinations.
But it was a long way from the ancient discipline of the martial arts. To the dismay of the purists, this was the shape of things to come.
Thrust kick. Oh, look at that right.
I jumped on him and I didn't stop. All the way up until I knew that he couldn't stand no more. I'm a good finisher, but I'm not the kind of person that would do it to try to hurt somebody.
In the early 1990s, 1993 as a matter of fact, Mr. Ishii put together a tournament format called the K1, which features the best heavyweight stand-up fighters fighting with gloves and with knees, no elbows, in tournament fashion, which has turned into pretty much the creme de la creme, the Cadillac, the Coupe de Ville of stand-up fighting known around the world.
The one means there's only one weight class, as heavy as possible. The fighters weigh in at more than 100 kilos. The K stands for kickboxing, kung fu, and karate, since just about any fighting style goes. The gloves come from boxing, showbiz comes from professional wrestling, and it's very, very big in Japan. It's even spawned rivals like the UFC, or Ultimate Fighting Championship.
I think K1 is one of the most spectacular events in the world. It's more spectacular than UFC and more spectacular than everything. 80–85% of all the matches at the K1 is finished by way of KO.
And in K1, a KO is a knockout with a vengeance.
K1, they have a tremendous amount of knockouts because in a tournament format, let's say you've got to fight 3 fights, and you can get banged up, your knees, your shins, your everything. You want to get that fight over quick. So they'll go out and rather than dance around, stick and move and work some strategy, they'll go out and try and figure the guy's chink in his armor really quick and knock him out. Most of the great fighters in K1 have come from Europe, predominantly Holland. The 2 greatest fighters in K1 history, in my opinion, Peter Arts and Ernesto Hoost, are both from Holland. They have both won the K1 multiple times.
K1 is an extreme example of the martial arts becoming a professional sport. But the #1 reason for learning a martial art is still self-defense, especially for women.
I really do feel every woman should know some sort of self-defense because the situation in society is so dangerous, and just by knowing a little bit, sometimes that can save your life. Self-defense is probably one of the easiest things a woman can learn.
Women have special things like fingernails and high-heel shoes that they can use as great protection. And if they just would learn even one class just so that they know a little bit. And even their keys on the way to the car. It's great protection for a woman that they always have on them. And I think every woman needs to learn a little bit just in case they're in that situation.
Because when it happens, the guy's trying to get her on the ground. He's physically stronger than her, but if there's no weapon, which in 80% of the rapes, there's usually no weapon, it's just verbal threats. She needs to be on the ground, using her legs, her lower body strength against his upper body, which is a good trade. Standing up, getting hit. She did Taekwondo, but she's thinking she's going to punch and kick with that guy, and she was wrong. Because what criminals do, they get control, and they get control fast, and they get control by hurting you. You see, they don't do wrist grabs and lapel grabs. They get control fast. Because if they're trying to grab your wrist, you're going to start resisting, you're going to start attracting attention. They got to get control fast, so they got to hurt you fast, get you on the ground. Boom, now the shock's in, they've already controlled you or you're unconscious. Now they can do what they want to do.
It doesn't matter how much self-defense any woman knows. She is always going to have a hard time against the average man, the average size guy. For the record, the average rapist is 145 to 165 pounds. He's not a huge, powerful man.
One of the things I'm so thankful that my father did with me growing up is he always pushed me to train with men, because you need to feel a man's energy.
Self-defense starts with self-confidence.
Woman's being attacked, she has one choice to make. Who's going to the hospital and who's going home? If you're ever near his ear, you're going to take here and rip the sucker off. Twist, like rip it off, okay? If you're by his neck, you're going to take a bite out of him, right? Your hands by his face, you're going to put your eyes, your fingers down and take it out, right? And I say, if you can do that, then I can begin to teach you how to fight seriously. I teach weapons at a very early stage because I know a lot of dead people. Some of them are 5th-degree black belts. I've been told that something like 85% of the homicides are done with a stabbing, cutting type instrument.
My philosophy is this: if the guy has a knife, I have a gun. If he has a knife and I don't have a gun, I'll throw a chair, whatever I can throw and get out of there. Because now that I'm older, I've seen what can happen with one knife, and you can die real quick.
And I've always been asked, so what would you do if a guy brought a knife at you? It happened to me before, and I defended myself. Successfully. Now we can say, well, maybe that guy wasn't so hot with the knife. We could say that, right? What would you do if a guy brought a gun to you? It depends on the situation. If you think, well, you look around, this guy really want to kill nobody, he wants a couple of dollars, maybe yeah, there you go.
If he's going to really shoot you, turn, back 1, 2, 3, and then turn it and go forward.
I honestly believe that, you know, within the proximity of this and this, that it's absolutely possible to take care of a gun.
If you're in a distance where I cannot touch it, sure, what do you want? Give you anything you want. The moment you're in range of me, I take you out.
bigger guy have a white shirt, and underneath he have a gun 45, big. He pull him up, he pull, and he jerk like that. That moment, I said, whoa, I kicked the inside crossing kick. Boom, he shot them. And same time, I kicked him. And then I punched the guy. When I punched him, he fell down, he get up. And then he picked up the gun and tried to run. I tried to chase him, and I couldn't move. I look at it, I got shot. Very lucky, I just go through my foot. I'll show you right leg. Right here.
The best way to defend oneself is to see the danger ahead of time and then set our life up to where the danger just misses us.
Most of the martial arts don't have techniques for fighting on the ground. But grappling like this can provide a way of tackling bigger opponents on equal terms. The Fighting Gracie family introduced the grappling art of jiu-jitsu to Brazil, where at first it met with a mixed response.
Family has done this in Brazil for many, many years. And again, half of the population love the Gracies and the other half hate the Gracies. It's only natural, we can't please everybody. And the challenge for us is a question, it's a moral issue. I have to make myself available to prove that everything I'm teaching my students is true, it's honest.
Right now, the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is very popular because there aren't that many instructors who are qualified to teach it.
As soon as you start doing this, I'm going to be doing this move. Step back with this leg, right here, so that I can't pull you over. Right. The techniques we have here are very simple. The moves are extremely simple. One of the difficulties we have is we have to remind the students that it's so simple that they should not complicate the things by trying to use too much strength, trying to perform at high speed. That's what throws them off.
Leg up, I'm doing this.
The chances are that the person who's going to pick a fight with you is going to be bigger, heavier, and stronger than you are. I want to close the distance. I want to bring the guy to the ground. Because once we are on the ground, size and strength kind of diminish. That space between him and I kind of gets closer.
Even upright martial arts like Wing Chun can incorporate grappling techniques if the struggle moves to the ground.
When I asked my first teacher, I said, Sifu, what do you do if you're actually using Wing Chun, and how do you do a break fall? He said, why? I said, well, I just was wondering how, if Wing Chun has a break fall. And he says, oh, no, you got it wrong. He says, in Wing Chun, the other guy's supposed to fall down, not you. But in a real fight, it's not realistic. I think whatever you can bring to the table is good. I've studied some of the Chin, a little bit of jiu-jitsu, but I wouldn't call myself a grappler. But the thing is, it's always good to know what people can do to you, and that gives you the ability to counter it.
The general perception is each martial art is good on their own thing. You can't compete against one another because the rules are different. And I said, wait a minute, what rules? What rules on the street? That's why I developed the concept of the Ultimate Fighting Championship. The public loved the concept because now it's time to separate the sheep from the goats. You know?
The Ultimate Fighting Championship combines all the martial arts, plus sports like boxing and professional wrestling. The organizers claim they're breaking down the barriers between the different styles to find out which one is the strongest. But is the ancient tradition of the martial arts being squandered on a street fight?